and welcome to this week's episode of Unconditional Self-Love in Your 40s with myself, Tilly Reid. I hope you're well. I'm doing okay. It's been one of those weeks. I've been suffering from a bad back, which is lovely, she says very sarcastically. You know, it's that realisation that, oh, yeah, I'm in my 40s. I don't bounce back as quick as I used to. So it's taken me a little time to look after myself. It's been really hard because I've had to say no to quite a few things, which is always just feels, it just feels horrible when you've committed to something, when you want to do something, and then when something like this comes along and just kind of takes you out of the game and you're like, I just can't do it. I can't do it. So I had to say no to quite a few things today and cancel quite a few things. So yeah, it's not been a great week. It is the weekend now, so I do have 2 days of rest where I don't have to worry. I don't have many things planned, so I can chill. But I hope you're well, not suffering with a bad back. But today, I'm going to talk about being in the comfort zone, which is quite appropriate considering I've been very uncomfortable all week with my back. But that's a separate issue. This is being in your comfort zone and what that's like and why we like it, why it's hard, and why it is also great to push yourself a little bit. Yeah? So, we could live these easy lives, these comfortable lives. We get up, we have a routine that we do every day. We go to the gym, or we're in a relationship, we have kids, whatever it is, we have a job. And obviously there are ups and downs within that those things. But, you're sort of ticking along, going with the flow, going through the motions, doing all the things. But then, something comes along. Maybe it's a new job. A job you see and you think, oh, should I apply for that? And you go, oh, I don't know, maybe not. Oh, but I'm quite comfortable where I am. Maybe it's not a good idea financially. Oh, but I don't know what I'm doing. I'm quite comfortable where I am. I know what I'm doing. I don't need to change. And suddenly all this stuff comes up and you start thinking, well, it might not even be better for me. It might be worse. Who knows? And before you know it, you've convinced yourself out of doing it. Does this sound familiar? I've definitely done this. I've definitely done this before. And it's really hard to know, because sometimes I have to try and recognise if it's fear that's coming up that's stopping me and keeping me in my comfort zone. Like genuine, just like, oh God, I'm not sure. And that I should go for it. Or whether it's something that's coming up that I'm like, no, that's not for me. It's a fine line, that. And yeah, you do have to find that for yourself. I just have to listen to my gut instinct. Yeah, with that one. So you do you. But yeah, we get very comfortable in our lives because it's comfortable. The comfort zone is comfortable. And it is great. And I truly believe that there's moments when we should sit in the comfort zone. When you have been through a whole sort of transition stage or changes and lots of changes going on, it's really good just to go, okay, I'm just going to stay here for a while, going to be in my comfort zone for a while. It feels safe. It feels, familiar. There's sort of less stress or anxiety because, you know the job that you're going to. I'm going to use job as an example. You know that. You know what to do. You can, everybody, your role, the people there. There's nothing new or that you need to kind of learn. And our brain is wired for safety. Our brain literally wants to keep us safe. It's that brain from years, generations and generations and generations ago that's going, no, keep you safe. You need to stay here where it's safe, where you know what you're doing. So it's that security that you feel in yourself. There is also a need for control with this. There's an element of, well, when I know what I'm doing, when I'm in my comfort zone, I'm controlling that. I am controlling how things, what happens, how things happen. That's me. And I can keep a very tight rein on that. And we know that control is just, it's false. We cannot control anything. It is also an energy and conservation. So it is easier. And that's why I said, obviously when you've been through moments of change, it is nice to sit in your comfort zone. This isn't an all or nothing thing. I do think that going in and out of your comfort zone is a really good thing. When you need to conserve that energy, when you need to just have a moment just to be with yourself, just going through the motions. I did this when I moved the end of last year into my new home. And before that, there was a lot of upheaval, a lot of stuff going on. And I moved in, I got everything settled. Once I got everything moved in, I don't even know how many months where I was like, I don't want to do much. I did the basic things. I went to work. I did all the things, But that was it. That was all I could give my energy to. And that's fine. Because there's always a moment when I come out of that and I go, okay, time to push myself a little bit more. But we're avoiding things by not pushing ourselves as well. We're avoiding fear, uncertainty, and potential failure. And this could sound like on the surface they're really good things to avoid. Like, we don't want to feel scared, we don't want to feel uncertain, we don't want to fail. Like, who does? However, not ever failing means you're not ever trying. I think there's a quote somewhere. I can't remember who it says it, but it's something. I butchered it there, but yeah, if you're not actually going out there and trying things and pushing yourself a little bit, or failing at things, or giving it a go, then yeah, you're not failing. And that can seem like a good thing, but it's actually not. we like failure is a good thing, and we do need to readdress that. And it is hard because it, like I say, when we do start to step out of that comfort zone, it triggers our literal survival instincts. And we interpret it as fear or threats. That's what our sort of old brains, not old brains in, you know what I mean? As in, I can't think of the words this morning. Our brains are wired a particular way to interpret any sort of change as a threat. We're like, oh, what is this? We don't know what's going on. It's fear of the unknown. Oh, we don't know what's going to happen. It's that jumping off a cliff feeling. Like, so we go, oh, we don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm gonna stay over here where I'm comfortable and I know what's what. But that's a false sense of security. And it is hard because pushing yourself can create a little bit of stress, a bit of physical discomfort. It doesn't feel good to push yourself out of your comfort zone. It doesn't feel great. And, especially if you're somebody that's a perfectionist, trying to push yourself into doing something that might not be perfect, that you probably might fail at, just would feel awful. And so you don't even do it. You think, oh, what's the point? Why would I want to do that? Which is fair enough. And I know, it is easier, but it's not the best for us. So why is it great? Why is it great to push ourselves out of our comfort zone? It builds personal growth. It literally helps us in so many ways. We build resilience. Resilience is a great thing to have. When you start to do those things, when you start to push yourself and do the things that you're like, oh, this feels fearful. Those things that you you might book something and then feel too scared to go, so you cancel it or you just don't go. I've done it. But I know that when I've actually, even though I've been scared, I've gone to things and I've pushed myself to go to things, it's always been so good. And I felt so great after it. And things that I've done that I thought, oh God, I don't think that's for me. I don't think I will be able to do that. And then you can surprise yourself and you do it. And you think, oh, actually, I am capable. And that becomes, resilience, because you go, oh yeah, I know that I'm actually capable of doing more than I think I can. We keep in these little safe, comfortable little air zones. We're like, nope, I'm keeping in my own zone, not going out of it. Actually, spread your wings. Yeah. And this makes us more confident. I think confidence is something, it's something that you get from doing things. It's not the other way around. I think a lot of us wait to feel confident before we do stuff. We go, oh, well, I'll do that when I feel better. I'll do that when I feel confident. No, it doesn't work like that. It's the other way around. You have to do the thing to feel the confidence. I know. It can kind of suck to begin with because it does feel awful in your body. It feels so, oh God, it's that survival instinct. It's fear of the unknown. Oh my God, what am I doing? It was just like when I started doing things online, when I was recording myself, doing even just the smallest videos on social media, I just was like, oh God, people don't want to listen to this. What do they want to say? Oh, this is going to be horrible. And by the end of it, I could do a video super easy. There was no problems. And, that for me was my comfort zone. Your comfort zone could be completely different. It could be anything. It could be something really small. It could be something really big. It is your own personal thing, and it can feel like you are more self-aware doing these things. You're breaking through your self-limitations. You're literally going, yeah, I could do this. It's a really can-do attitude. And I think that's why it is really important to kind of swing in and out of this, because I'm certainly not saying the comfort zone is bad by any means. It is not. When you need it, it is great. It is great to just sit in your comfort zone and just be. But it is also great to sit in the other side and just push yourself a little bit. And it could unlock some amazing potential or success. You just don't know. So give it a go. So a few tips just for you if you want to start sort of pushing yourself. Just write down that thing. Maybe you've got something. Maybe I've just spoken and you've gone, oh yeah, there's that thing that I've wanted to do but I've always been scared of. Write it down. Write it down on a piece of paper, and then break down the steps that you will need to do that. And make it small. Make it really, really small. If it's like booking a class, booking like a, I don't know, pottery class or something like that. Break it down into all its little bits and then start small. Maybe the first one is to literally write it down. Oh, tick, done that bit. Maybe the second one is just to go online and have a look. You're not booking, you're just having a little look. Yeah. And then you just do one thing at a time and build it up. The second tip is embrace feeling uncomfortable. You know, this society now we've got very comfortable. Everything is very, very convenient. You know, we can get things delivered to our door the next day, sometimes the same day. We expect things now. We want things done. Everything has to be perfect or they're cancelled. You know, it's all very, we have to be very comfortable with how things are. And that's not life. That is not life. We are going to feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. And we need to learn how to just embrace that uncomfortableness. Embrace it. And I know it feels, oh God, it can feel so terrifying. You know, I've learned how to use that. I went to an audition last week or I think it was a couple of weeks ago now. And auditions are horrible. They are horrible. They never don't get scary. I'm always nervous. You are so on show. You have to get up in front of usually 2, maybe 3 people and do some acting and, try different things and chat and you want to do a good thing. It's similar to interviews, basically. You want to do a good thing. And it's always, always uncomfortable. But I've got to a point where I embrace that. I just embrace it. I just know that that is part and parcel of that. That is the beginning part. And I try to switch it to, okay, this isn't fear. This is excitement. I'm really excited to do this. I'm really excited because this has possibly given me the opportunity to do something or to learn from this or to get something out of this. It is all great. And the last tip is to reframe failure. We see failure as a bad thing and maybe something to avoid, when actually it's not. Like, failure means you're trying. It really does. There's so many stories of, people who we now see in the world, with their businesses, but we didn't see the time and time they've failed beforehand trying different things. There's probably most of them. I would guess at least every single person that we see has probably failed a lot. And what's the difference between somebody who fails and succeeded? Is they've just kept on going. They've just kept on going, or they've learned how to use that failure for their own advantage and have gone, okay, well, what can I learn from this? And it totally sucks at the time. Don't get me wrong. God, it's awful. When you don't get that job or you don't get that thing, you're like, oh, this is horrible. I failed. I'm awful. I'm terrible. No, you're not. You went for it. You can learn from it. You can get feedback from it. Just think, what can I do? And actually, I had the failure because I went for the thing. You've got to reframe that. And as Albert Einstein says, a person who never made a mistake never tried anything new. Okay? I will leave you with that and I'll speak to you next week. Hello, welcome to 3 Joys of the Week. This week in number 1, we have, medicine, drugs, ibuprofen. Oh my God, it's been a joy for me this week because having a bad back and being in a world where I can take drugs for that bad back. It is joyful when that pain dissipates. You're like, you don't realize when you're not in pain, you don't realize how thankful you are that you're not in pain. It's only until there's something wrong with you, you get ill, you get a bad back like me, that you go, oh God, I'm going to be super grateful when this pain's gone away. It's always the way. I also love photos in my home. I've been printing off photos of my family, of my friends, and putting them in my home. And they bring me so much joy to look at them. I want to put more up. I just think it's really good. We have so many pictures, all of us probably have so many pictures on our phone. And do we actually look at them? We probably don't. So, get some of them printed, get them on the walls, get those memories out there. Like, it doesn't cost much to get some printed. And honestly, I love looking at them. And the third one is booking holidays. There's something about the booking of a holiday and having that discussion with your friend and the back and forth, and then, what about this one, or what about this one, and then you decide on one. And there is something in the anticipation of a holiday, because now that's it, that's locked in, that's in my calendar. That is that thing to look forward to in a few months, where I'm like, I'm going to be going on holiday, it's great, with my good friend. And yeah, there is something that brings so much joy in that, in the anticipation of going. Obviously, the holiday itself is joyful, but there is something about the booking as well. Okay, have a great week.